You join us at a brand new water, a water that's packed with sturgeon and large catfish. We try new techniques for us, we try out our test baits, we try out new rigs, and we'll show you the success, the results, and the not so successful days. But join us and enjoy. Hi guys, so this fantastic sturgeon popped by. We don't have a weight on her yet, but I'll take it on the film. She's a diamondback. I think she's the biggest one I've had out of here. She took half a blaze blue cat surge pop-up on top of a blaze batch 5 pellet on a short trace to one of our running rigs. Really happy to have her, but let's get her weighed and get her back. Thanks guys. Hi guys, so we're on a lovely breezy day on a 4-day session on a sturgeon and cat lake. I had some carp in here as well and some other bits, especially eels. The eels are a pain, but let's not go there. I just wanted to talk about the 14 mils. These are unlabeled because they're one of our packs and literally we pulled them out the barrel before we came down. If you're buying them from us, and I think there's about 5 packs left, they've sold pretty well actually, but we're doing more. They're 600 grams is £12 basically, plus postage. They're a standard Copems halibut and krill pellet that's been soaked in an emulsified mixture of salmon oil, additives and flavourings. In there as well is a large amount of high quality liver extract and 2 or 3 amino sources, including some marine amino sources. Pardon me while I get my mouth in properly. They're very effective. A lot of people have been reporting catches on these, and I'll show you another way we use them in a minute. So why have I got a glove on? Well, I've got a glove on because when you buy from us, we're slightly more expensive than a lot of other brands. Well, that's because these spend 6 days minimum being soaked in, as I've said, a large amount of very potent ingredients. What that means is it's kind of little is more. If you're feeding them, you don't need many. They will last kind of 6 to 8 hours in the water, which is pretty unknown for most pellets, because they're soaked in with this emulsified salmon oil, which is nice and thick and just comes off them in small amounts at a time, attracting fish and leaving a scent trail. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're talking about. Anyway, the reason for the glove is because if you don't use a glove or something like that, you'll be tasting them for the rest of the day, no matter how many times you wipe your hands. So these are the pellets. You can see they come with plenty of oil in the packet. You can see the oil down there. So if they get too dry, all you do is just invert the packet and they'll get covered in oil again before you use them. As you see, they're drilled. They're very hard pellet. They're in good condition. Sarah's better at describing the smell than me because I got hit by long COVID.
So they smell, hopefully the mics go pick this up, we're using mics now. So it smells meaty and fishy. It smells really strong, very complex flavour. It smells amazing. It smells exactly what you think fish are going to get. It's brilliant. And yeah, in 8 hours time, you'll still be able to smell these smells. The flavours will still be there. It won't wash out immediately. It will last, and it's really good.
So for PVA mix and for ground bait, what we do is we've taken about 4 kilos, you know, to come close to the bucket, taken about 4 kilos of these pellets, and what we've done is we've mixed them in with our magic dust, which you can buy from us, and I'll bring some out on the scoop to save Sarah bending her back all the time. This magic dust is a combination. All the green and gold bits you can see are a mixture of AA baits, chili and garlic ground bait. There's also in here some of AA baits, hemp explosive ground bait, and then on top of that, mixed in with it, is some pure garlic powder, a large amount of 3 different liver powders and liver extracts, and the base that you'll see in the brown, this stuff, is actually pig's blood. So it's dried porcelain blood. Okay, it's pig's blood. And then, as I said, we've got liver on top of that. And then the white bits you can see in there are GLM, which is very expensive, full fat GLM, green lip mussel extract. And then we also mix in some soluble fish meals, and we finish off with some squid meal as well. That makes a highly attractive cloud in the water, and just by dropping in the pellets into that, the wet pellets, we left them overnight, and that's all they've been left is overnight, and you can see that they're fully coated. So the loose magic dust around there makes a cloud all the way to the bottom, and it's quite sort of buoyant from the bottom upwards because of the explosive hemp ground bait mix in there. The pellets gradually shed their coating over a period of time, and then they shed the oils from inside the pellet. So this is our attractor mix. We'll be putting it in PVA mesh bags, we'll be throwing it out. We'll possibly even be sticking some in straight PVA bags as well later on. And then we'll be fishing those 14mm pellets over the top for the sturgeon, and then we'll be fishing their 20mm brothers, which is the same mix but a 20mm pellet over the top for the catfish. So that's it. That's what we're using for bait.
And literally 24 hours later, to a single blaze version 5 pellet, we got the same girl. So keep her in the water as before, just because A, she is massive, and we don't want to stress out any more than absolutely necessary, because basically the water level is quite low. You might be able to see in the background, we're like 2-3 foot between bank and water level, and so it's much easier to keep her in the sling and just get her weighed here. So let's get her out. She is very lively this morning. She's not a happy bunny. I'll pop back in. This is by far the less stressful methodology for getting her sorted, because we've got the water flow, because we've got the wind blowing the water, so she's quite comfortable, quite happy, so she'll be ready to swim off in a moment. We'll take some photos. Job's good.
Okay guys and girls, so here we're fighting the cat. It's a bit outgunned, to be honest, on a 5.2 test curve Harrison custom on 40-pound mono on a spin fisher, but yeah, he's doing his best to evade us every way he can. It actually took me for a run around the island, which was fun, but eventually we got it under control and brought it back, and Sarah did an awesome job slipping the net underneath it. So yeah, you can see right here, it's got plenty of life about it. You know, it really did try every trick in the book to get away, as you can imagine that it would. But as you can see, there's the final roll in the net, and we're done. So thank you to Sarah for her excellent skills as usual. We let it rest in the margins. 22 pounds of absolute gorgeousness on a little roach live bait. We love every ounce of it. This is one of our standard, if Sarah can get the whole thing, running rigs. Now, one of the questions I've had is why we use micro clips here rather than full-on clips at, you know, like, I don't know, 100-pound breaking strain or something. The reason we use these micro clips, I'm hoping Sarah can get that. Yeah. The reason we use these micro clips is because they do actually part when enough pressure is applied. So under normal casting, no problems. We've never had one fail, okay? I think they part at about 20 or 30 pounds of pressure. But when you put enough pressure on them, like if the lead's snagged under a rock or something like that, they will actually just part. So alright guys, so all trip we've been having our baits guzzled, baits hooks stripped, all the rest of it. We know there's eels in here, we know they've run to almost record sizes from what I can gather from the other members. We finally managed to catch one. No point keeping an eel on a wet mat, from what I understand. Best to keep them in water. So we've got her in a water bucket. She's small enough for us to get away with that. Hopefully, I can hold her briefly for you. There you go. There you go, baby. So we'll pop her back and make sure she doesn't come to any harm. Anyone wants to know, that came to a piece of chorizo, a piece of lunchy meat, and a piece of salmon. Sarah is now going to be my assistant and pass me rods. Aha, aha, aha. So, this is a CRS 12 foot, which would agitate. I have 3 of these. This is the absolutely amazing Penn Spin Fisher bait runner with the HT100 drag system. This is the 8500 VLL model. Sarah prefers the Penn Fierce, but in my opinion, these are the better reels. These are about £190 retail, I think. The rod's about £90 retail. But let's go into the rigs. Yeah. Get things unhooked and untangled. We can do that. There we go. Right, so sticking on the bait runner. Sarah, would you mind holding the rod? Thank you, darling. So, first things first. There we go. Right, so this is the tipper rig. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, tipper rig? What, does he go around the local restaurants giving out glee and fair tidings? No, apparently you use this for catfish. Okay, so this is a Catfish Pro ceramic slider. This is a 4-ounce lead. Right, this is Catfish Pro's own product, okay? This is called a tipper rig. I could make these, but for $12.99, it's not worth the hassle. I can tell they've done it. It's a tulip bead, piece of stiff, either fiberglass or plastic, I'm not sure which. Tiny poly ball, rubber stopper, another rubber stopper, big poly ball, egg-shaped one, another rubber stopper, tulip bead, and then this is like just a plastic rod that sticks into the tulip bead. The idea is that this sits in the water like this, and then this folds over like that under the weight of the bait, and this, because it's flexible, keeps moving around with the waves, giving your bait action just under the surface. Right, that's that. This is a £295 swivel. Then we move on to some Berkeley Tri-Line £75 fluorocarbon. You can see I've blobbed the knot there, always essential with fluoro. Anyway, so this is the fluorocarbon. There's probably, I don't know, how long's that, Sarah?
18 inches.
Yeah, about 18 inches of fluoro there. I have a float stop up there. This float stop is so that when I use non-live bait on here, like squid or something like that, it doesn't move up the line away from the hook when we cast it and stuff. Okay, another uni knot, and this hook is a 4.0 tugging tackle grapple, very sharp, very strong, great hook. That's it for this rod. So this rod's set up for live bait, squid, bunches of worms, that sort of thing. Right, moving on, Sarah. So these are Sarah's favourites. They no longer produce them anymore, I have to say this. This is a Monster Tamer, £5 test curve, 10'6", big fish rod. They're not designed for cats, but they do a really good job for cats. They're designed for like masseur in India and things like that. This is a Pen Fierce, 8000. Bait runner edition, there's a bait runner there, bait runner lever, bait runner drag, loaded with 40-pound big game in subsurface green. Thank you, Sarah. Right, same deal as before. Ceramic runner, micro clip, 4-ounce lead, big bead, and then we move on to this assembly. This is a Catfish Pro dumbbell rig. Loads of people make dumbbell rigs, right? It's just I ordered them from Catfish Pro because when I was thinking about it, it was a web page I was on. So basically, it's dead simple construction. You got a tulip bead there, rubber stopper, egg-shaped polyball rubber stopper, thick heavyweight tube, stiff, rubber stopper, polyball, piece of flexible rubber. This is a £295 swivel, again from Trev's Tackle, and this is again our beloved Berkeley Tri-Line fluorocarbon, and we've probably got, I don't know, 18 inches, 2 foot of that. Again, we've got a float stop up here for if we use dead baits or worms or something like that. And we come down to, in this case, a 2.0 tugging tackle grapple. Again, very sharp, very strong. And this is just a bit of rubber cut out of a sheet of rubber, effectively. This acts, because it's a barbless hook, this stops the bait coming off the hook. Without it, the bait would just fly off the hook. Okay, so that's how we get around the fact that it's barbless. So this dumbbell rig, this sits on the bottom, this sits on the surface, fish comes along, tilts up, slides away, or zooms across the surface. So it's just another way of fishing a suspended bait for catfish. Thanks, Sarah. Sarah's looking very glamorous today in a sparkly black dress. Thank you. Right, so the rod and reel are the same, won't bore you. Right, so this is the same deal, okay, different type of clip, but it's just a ceramic runner, 4-ounce lead, some silicone rubberized tubing into a tulip bead. It's a Catfish Pro tulip bead, it doesn't matter, to a 295 swivel. Then we've got a loop system again on that 75-pound fluoro, the Berkeley one we talked about. The loop system comes down, and the next thing you find is where it gets interesting. Right, this is a float stop. This is made by Tugging Tackle. This is their smallest sub float, okay? And the idea with this is that the lead sits on the bottom. This keeps the bait kind of suspended and lifted off the bottom. Then the bait has the freedom of movement of the small amount that's beyond the sub float. So we use float stops so we can move the sub float up and down and vary the gap. So we got a yellow one there, black one there, it really doesn't matter. And this is made by Tugging Tackle. Down onto the 75-pound fluoro, which we need to replace because it looks like the cat shed on that scraped that up. Anyway, that is a 4.0 grapple from Tugging Tackle, nice and sharp. She had a fish on this already today, which is a 28-pound cat.
So we've got a nice 28-pounder. She came in on a live bait, another roach, on a sub float. We're going to wait. We've already weighed her, so we're going to go back in the water. Cheers.
And again, your live bait or your dead bait or whatever, with your bunch of worms hooks on there, slide a bit of rubber on there to act as a stopper. Dead simple. Obviously, it's barbless. Okay, something a bit different, folks. You excited? I'm excited. Right, so I'm just hooked on this subject. There we go. Right, this has been out there, obviously. This started off as a 20mm pellet. It's been out there for about 8 hours. I think the eels have been sucking on it. Right, this is a single pellet rig with a lock hook. So you can see there, that's the right distance for a single pellet. Then we have the pellet bead. Then we have the OMC lock hook that we've gone into many times. We sell these rigs complete. Then we have the tungsten bead, which helps push this down and stops it being wafted around when fish are feeding near it. Onto the braid, we've got, I don't know, 8 inches of braid there, something like that. We've got a bit of silicone covering the knot. On the ones we sell, this is shrink, not silicone. Then we've got a 295-pound swivel, one of those brilliant tulip beads again. This is Catfish Pro tungsten and rubber tubing. This will lay across the lake bed, keeping the line pinned, so it's very handy. Then we've got the classic ceramic runner, micro clip 4-ounce lead, and that's your lot. And we use this, as I say, for fishing a single pellet. This is primarily aimed at the sturgeon in here with an OMC lock hook. Okay, so this is the smaller sister of the rods I was showing you earlier. This is the 4-pound test curve, 11 foot, which would agitate a catfish rod. It's ideal for the sturgeon that are in there because it's a little bit lighter. It's like a heavyweight cart rod, but with a through curve. It'll also happily cope with a cat as well. Okay, that's really all there is to say about it. We strongly recommend these Witchwood agitator rods, whatever test curve you pick. We've put them through hell and they've come through quite nicely. Okay, this is a bit of a DIY job, folks. So this is a Harrison custom rod built by Buzzard Rods. This, if I remember rightly, cost me £360. You can see my nickname stenciled on there. It's 5.2-pound test curve. I have 2 of them. The oddity in this day and age is I've got a line clip on there. That comes in really, really handy on really cautious cats. This is obviously the 8500 spin fisher VLL that we talked about. Let's go on to the rig. Okay, so this was a DIY job because I found that I'd left my wallet at home, which had my normal polyball rigs in, and I didn't have any large polyballs with me. So what we did was we created a inline polyball rig on the fly. So what does that look like? So again, ceramic runner, micro clip, 4-ounce lead, big black bead, 295-pound swivel from Tugging Tackle, 75-pound fluorocarbon from Berkeley. Then we come down to a float stop, and then we've got the only polyballs I had with me, which are these ones. There's a mixture here actually of foam and hard. That came from Fox Predator kit. I think these came from Johnson's Tackle. and they came from Catfish Pro, that one. And then we've got another rubber stop there, and then that gives us this freedom here for the live bait to swim around. What happens is this pops to the surface, and then we wind it down. I normally have it about a foot under the surface, and then the live bait can swim around on what's left. Okay, and that keeps it at a constant depth. 4-0, tugging tackle, grapple, hook, bait shield. Bait goes on there, bait shield stops it getting off. That is it if you're interested in a blobbed uni knot. Not much more to say. Hi, so it's been a hard trip. I think this is either the sturgeon I lost earlier or one of the bigger ones. This was on a Blaze Patch 4 pellet, hooked on a OMC barbless lock rig in the corner of the mouth. She weighs 36 pounds, both on the electronic scales, which we haven't put a tear on. She weighs 41, and on the manual scales, which has got a 6 pound tear on, she weighs 34. I'll just give you a proper look at her. Sarah, can you stand up and back off her a bit? Get both of us. I'm chuffed to mint balls with her, she's beautiful. We've got some water over her, we took the hook out. We need some more water over her, get a couple of stills and revive her and get her back. Thanks everyone, thanks for joining us. Just as we'd finished filming the summary, we had this beautiful girl at 25 pounds. Unfortunately, she got banged about on the fight in, but it's all been treated with cat gel, so she should be fine. I'm going to look after her properly in a minute. So she's 25 pounds, a beautiful diamondback sturgeon. We're very happy to have her. This was on a Blaze pellet on one of our rigs. Thanks everyone, bye. Hi guys, so we're live baiting currently. We got 3 baits out at the moment. As you can see, we've got a tipper rig on the far right, and then in the center we've got a dumbbell, and then we've got a dumbbell with a little float attached to it to try and keep the bait closer to the surface, and just our attempts at trying to keep it away from the eels, but so far we've been not very successful. The cats are kind of noticeable by their absence, but let's talk about this morning because that was fun. So hi guys. So this morning we kind of got up at like, I don't know, 2 AM or something. Unfortunately, I'd baited a load of rigs the night before and made them up, and they were really short rigs, like about 8 inches. I thought I'd give them a try, and 3 tungsten weights on them, so you know they were really tight to the deck, given that sturgeon feed on the deck. And I baited them with half a pop-up and a Blaze pellet in most cases, and in one case just a Blaze pellet. Anyway, so cut a long story short, next thing, the alarm's screaming off. It's 6 AM, the alarm's screaming off, we're waking up, and suddenly I'm fighting a 36 pound diamondback sturgeon, which was lovely to get. Let her go, and then one of my other rods went screaming off. Well, obviously, as you might know, I have fibro. There was no way I could fight 2 fish in a row. So I said to Sarah, I said, that's your fish, go hit it. So Sarah jumped out of the bunk, ran to the rod, smashed into it. And would you know it, she had the same 50 again that she had yesterday, which is the biggest sturgeon in the lake. Anyway, I was really chuffed for her. We did all the photography and unhooking and everything in the water, which was great. And then let it go. So we just had a visitor. 24 pounds on the live bait, right up against the reeds. I just noticed the dumbbell had gone, the alarm hadn't gone or anything, and I was like, oh Sarah, help. Anyway, we hit into it, we landed it, and here she is. No marks or wounds on her. I put a little bit of purple spray on the hook hole, but that's really about it. So let's just turn around for you a sec. There we go. Brilliant. All right, catch you on the next one.
So I thought I'd just kind of talk you through our unhooking area and kind of landing area. So we've got a lot of bits and pieces going on here. So I'm going to walk you through what we got just to explain why we've got it. So if we look at the unhooking section itself first, underneath the mats we've got quite a large kind of 3 meter top. This is by Black Cat, and it is a measuring unit. So if you look down here, you can see you got from 0 to 270 centimeters or 2.7 meters. So it gives you a way of scaling your fish. So this is so it's used particularly in Europe for the larger cats where you can't actually weigh them easily, but you can at least measure them and give you an idea of how big your fish is. On top of that, we've got 2 of these padded mats, and they are there to protect the fish and keep the fish safe whilst we are dealing with it and looking after it. These are dry at the moment, we've only just set up, but we'll wet these down with plenty of water. When we have a fish on, then obviously put the water on the fish as well. If we look behind, we've got this beanie mat. This is purely for comfort of the angler. This is where we can kneel and obviously taking photos, taking videos, all those bits and pieces. We don't keep the fish out for long. Kind of, you know, a minute, 2 minutes maximum. Be wetted down the entire time before we get it back into the water and return it as safely as possible. With the unhooking kind of bits and pieces, we've got a lot of different kit. We've got a black bag of tricks, and there's the cat welfare gels and lotion. So if there's any hook damage, if there's any kind of scarring, we can make sure the fish is well maintained and looked after, which is really helpful. We've got gloves, we've got various forms of pliers. We've got these quite long, nice pliers, which are, and we've got a variety. We've got some hook ones, we've got some forceps, we've got some snub nose ones, so we can deal with whatever happens. We, touch wood, haven't had any deep hooked fish, but if we do, these pliers will deal with it, no problem at all. We've got the gloves in there as well. We've got a variety of gloves, and they're there to protect the hand, because the cats don't have teeth per se, but they do have those very rough pads, like a kind of hardcore Velcro, which will take the skin off your hand, no problem at all, quite easily. And so if you are chin gripping, so you put your hand in, hold on to that fish to control it, you don't want to be worried that the palm of your skin's going to come off, because you get potential for infection. So you put the gloves on. They are they've ranged from the fox predator gloves, which are bespoke fishing kind of gloves for fish which can harm you, through to kind of leather rawhide gardening gloves, which were just as effective and a lot cheaper. They're also easy to replace. So we've got all that stuff here. We've got 2 sets of scales. So we've got our large 300-pound analog scales, and we've also got a set of 100-pound digital scales, and it gives us a choice. So both of these are tared, so it means that we have subtracted the weight of the waistling, which you can see over here. The waistling is, again, this is a very large waistling, the biggest we could find, because some of the cats can be quite big. You can see how big the unhooking area is. We will happily fill this with fish, and so we need to make sure this fish is kept comfortable and safe as possible. This waistling is quite useful. It's got spreader bars on top, so if you are having to put the fish back in to be kind of give it a resting period, either after it's been landed or before you return it, it can keep a nice amount of water inside to give the fish oxygenated water. It's also got a guy rope, so you can actually tie it off. So if you are having to put the fish out for an extended period of time, you don't have to have it by the bank. You can let it go, let it into a bit deeper water, a bit more oxygenated water, and it just helps as well. If you've seen some of our previous videos, you'll see that actually we've had lights on sticks. We've upgraded. And so these are bigger work lights. We've got one here and one at the far end. And these are LED work lights. So they are designed for, you know, kind of a workspace environment. They have various different modes, including blue, red, flashy for, I don't know why, but they have them, and that's okay. And so we're going to use these. I'm going to put some screw fixings into these so they can be mounted onto the bank sticks and raise them up to a more appropriate level. But that's not for today. We're going to test them out for this trip, see how we get on. And so this is really the unhooking area. We will get the waistling nice and wet before we put the fish in. Same with the mats. We've got a couple of big buckets, a 10 litre and a 20 litre. We fill those with water and make sure that there's plenty there. So we'll go through maybe 5-6 buckets whilst we have a fish on the bank. Not a big issue. We'll just keep the water going. So behind you, what you can't see, but I can see, is we are maybe a metre away from the bank edge. So it's really short distance from lifting the fish out, getting it onto the mats, get it unhooked, get it photographed, get it weighed, get it back in the water as quickly as possible. That's really the aim, and that's the key. Came on a 20mm blaze pellet. She took it, she's been hooked in the bottom lip, which is brilliant. So I'm going to just quickly dehook her. The massive advantage of having barbless hooks, no damage to her whatsoever. And have a quick look. Yes, it is, sweetheart. Yes, it is. There we go. So lovely looking carp. I'm going to put it back in the water and yeah, probably get some more sleep. Cheers.
Showtime. Prime time. So I drink way too much of this when I'm on the bank. I'm a coffee addict. Comes from being an IT consultant, I think. Anyway, so that's where we are. That's how we're spending the rest of our second day. So we've got worms on the tipper, onto the Harrison rod, and then on the other 4 rods at the minute, we've got our standard blaze pellets. One of them, as it gets darker, I'll put the Medusa pop-up rig on, and I'll put squid on the tipper rig. Yep. And you can film the flight.
Okay, it looks like we're definitely on this, our first fish of the season, of the session, sorry. It came on the tipper rig with the worms. How fortuitous, we're just filming that bit of footage, and the alarm outside, which you heard beeping away. This is the 5.2 test pound rod. Look how that curve's going in there.
Gonna walk down to the next peg?
Yeah, let's go walkies. I'll grab the net.
Grab the net.
Grab the net, let's go. Okay, we've got the 50-inch net in hand. We also have a 70, so if it is big, I'll run back and get that. I may have to stop filming. So keeping the pressure on the line. As you see, there's a decent amount of space in this lake for the fish to run around. Not too many surface snags. We don't know what the base is like, so it could be underneath. Look at that curve. Amazing. How's it feeling?
Heavy. This is a cat, I think.
Yeah?
Pretty sure.
It's hard to see the line now. It hasn't surfaced yet, but we'll see the tipper assembly come out first before we see whatever it is. Now this is 40-pound mono.
On the water.
Look, oh, here we go. Oh,
Cat.
there's a cat. Very exciting. Yep, getting the net ready. Okay, the net's going in. Still got decent life in it. It's still lots of energy. We do try and land these fish quickly, so there's not a big fight. Don't build up too much lactic acid, but also we get them back in fairly quickly as well. So as soon as we get it netted, I will be stopping the filming.
We'll continue from the unhooking mat though.
Yeah, we will do a quick section at the unhooking mat when we get the weigh in, but we do try and keep them out of the water as little time as possible for their welfare.
Right, this side.
There she is. Okay.
Some scooper.
Yep.
Some scooper. Get the net.
Yep.
There you go.
There she is then. Brilliant. Right, I'm going to stop the filming.
Okay, so the rules on here, and they're very sensible rules, they're actually rules that I follow when I get the chance on other waters, is that you let the fish recover before you unhook it and weigh it or whatever. So right now we're just giving the cat a little bit of time in the net just to calm down, recover. It does make them more lively when you're trying to deal with them. That's a small price to pay to make sure the cat's looked after at every stage. No monster, but first fish out of this water, £16. Right, let's get it back. Okay guys, so we just got back in the sleeping bags. Well, basically we've just changed all the live bait rigs over to sturgeon rigs, running leads on ceramics, although there's every chance a cat could pick them up too. And rebait with blaze pellets and half blaze pop-ups. So they've gone out with PVA bags on, and we'll see what happens over the next 4 hours. Okay guys, so I don't want to put through too much distress, this will be quick, but I've never seen anything like it in my life. This eel took a roach, a live roach on a tipper rig with a 4/0 hook, tugging tackle grapple. I just don't believe it. Try and get closer on the head, yeah. Try and get that focused. I'd never had one before yesterday, now I've had two. This one's a bit smaller. So what we'll do is we'll get her back, not put her through any more distress. But I just wanted to share the moment with you. Thanks guys.